We are well into Elul, which means that we're getting close. It's about 2 weeks from Rosh Hashanah, which means that I'm in preparation for Rosh Hashanah mode. And I was reading just this morning a book, This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, by Rabbi Zichrono Livracha. People for years have recommended that I read this book. It's 20 years old. I always thought, how good it could possibly be. Anyway, I'm one chapter in. It's awesome. You totally should read it. L-E-W, Rabbi Ellen Lu. Even in the introduction, he's speaking of how, a quote from the mid-20th century architect Buckminster Fuller. Students asked him, who's the most significant figure of the 20th century? He said it was Freud. Why Freud? Of all people, why Freud? Freud, he said, was the one who had introduced a single great idea upon which all the significant developments of the 20th century had rested. The invisible is more important than the visible. You would never have had Einstein if Freud hadn't convinced the world of this first. You would never have had nuclear physics. The invisible is more important than the visible. Lou continues. For all Freud's animus against Judaism, his idea was an extremely Jewish one. In fact, it might not be too much to suggest that it is the Jewish idea. Judaism came into the world to bring the news that the invisible is more important than the visible. This is a key insight into how we approach Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, if we want to have a meaningful time and truly do that cheshbon nefesh, check ourselves to try and create better lives for ourselves. It's recognizing that our hopes and our dreams and our fears and our anger and many of our stumbling blocks, they're buried deep. It's not always visible. Just like when we hear the shofar but often don't even see it. This year on Rosh Hashanah day 1, neither. When we speak of God, instead of looking at a statue of that God, we close our eyes and say Shema Yisrael. We recognize that the invisible is often more important than the visible. This is part of the insight that we should have going into these high holy days, and by recognizing that, we can begin to tackle some of the issues that face us. Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova.